Welcome to I Want to Work There, a podcast that helps colleges and universities boost their brands as employers of choice. I'm your host, Eddie Francis, brand strategy consultant for Edify Ventures. Join me every other week for discussions with some of the best minds in talent recruitment and retention, human resources, and marketing and communications inside and outside of higher education. I Want to Work There is part of the Enrollify network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals just like you grow, and explore our other shows at Enrollify.org, or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. Thank you for joining me on this episode of I Want to Work There. I'm Eddie Francis, and we are coming live from Engage Summit in Raleigh, North Carolina. Beautiful Raleigh, North Carolina. And I have to do this. I have to do the shout out thing because we have 3 HBCUs in the area. So we got Shaw University, we got St. Augustine's University in Raleigh. In Durham, we have North Carolina Central. So I have with me Shane Baglini, and he is the Senior Director of Marketing at Muhlenberg College. And then also, he is the host of Breaking Silos. We have an Enrollify crossover. Thank you so much for joining me, man. How you doing?
Doing well. I'm getting to the point of being ready to go home for the coffee.
Well, because you've been on fire, man. You've been doing lots of episodes of Breaking Silos, and so so I want to get to that in a little bit, because the reason I thought about talking about you, especially, or talking to you, I should say, I don't talk about you much, Shane, but the reason I thought about talking to you at this particular conference is there are all these conversations that we tend to have at these conferences, especially marketing communications conferences and higher ed, and people in the higher ed community. We're going through it. A lot of us who are in Marcom are really, really going through it. And I thought it would be a good idea to really let the audience have a look inside of the world of the Marcom professional, the leader in higher ed, because it is quite the talent experience. And from a macro point of view in higher ed, Marcom people are pretty important on campuses, but you also have this thing going on where if you can't retain your Marcom talent, then the branding process, the PR process, all those processes start over with new people coming in, having their own ideas, especially the institution itself doesn't have a solid brand, a brand that's just kind of set in stone. You know what I mean? So we're going to get to Breaking Silos in a little bit. But first of all, we're going to get the story. I mean, how'd you get roped into the whole higher ed Marcom thing?
Yeah, so I actually started my career working in the sports industry. Both of my grad and undergrad credentials are in sport management. And there was a point in time where I thought it was the only thing I'd ever want to do. I mean, it's still my first love and the thing I enjoy doing.
A lot of sports people are like that. It's just like nothing but sports my whole life. Yeah.
It's a lot of hours. It's nights and weekends, and eventually wanted to start a family and have some time to myself, which was nice. And actually, I'll never forget my first day in higher ed. I started at Northampton Community College in 2016. My first day in higher ed, I was walking out of my office, and it was like, I don't know, 5:15, 5:20. And I peeked out of the door, and nobody was there. And I'm like, where is everybody? So work-life balance is better in higher ed. But yeah, I mean, in general, I think we were talking before at lunch, looking for something that could hopefully do some good in the world. Was landed in higher ed and really, really stuck with me. And just, being able to kind of tell the story of higher ed in a way that impacts people is really, it's the thing that gets me up in the morning. And so that's kind of what has made me stick for almost a decade now.
Oh man, decade, man. So when I started in higher ed as a PR director, there were 2 things that people told me. One was, "Oh, your job is easy. All you're doing is writing press releases." The second thing that I was told was, "Oh, your job is to lie for the president, isn't it?" And so So these are the perceptions. And then when I got into the marketing side, it became, well, your job is to get us billboards. Hey, you need to do a better job with billboards. Wait, how come we don't have billboards? And so at some point, I just stopped and asked myself, I guess people think that there is, number one, no rigor in this job. And number two, they think we're just sitting in the office throwing pencils and pens up at the ceiling and watching what can stick and that sort of thing. And we have foosball tables in the office and whatever they think. And I don't know, people are skateboarding through. I don't know what they think was going on. So, with your experience having come into higher ed, what are some of the things that you have seen that for you have been pain points, but then also have been the gratifying experiences in Marcom? So let's get the pain points out of the way.
Yeah, and there two of them are actually directly tied to each other: the pain point and the gratifying. I think most people would agree, depending on your institution, maybe not, but we're stretched thin.
Yeah,
we are operating. We're producing a lot of work for the institution with not a lot of human, capital, so to speak. On the flip side of that, I think one of the really rewarding things is sort of being in the trenches with that team.
Yeah.
I think about the COVID pandemic. We all went through that together. And certainly we were all virtual, and that didn't help connect with colleagues, but it reminded me of playing football in high school. We went through it.
Yeah.
But you develop, you become close that way. And I think that's one of the really gratifying things is kind of being in the trenches with the team and the people that you're working alongside of. I would say another pain point for a lot of people, for me, I will say our leadership at Muhlenberg is really good about valuing marketing and realizing it's a strategic, part of the institution. I think for some others, and sort of this was the one of the ideas behind breaking silos, was the need to elevate marketing as a strategic partner at the institution. And it's a pain point because sometimes we can't control that.
Right.
We need a seat at the table. We need leadership and boards and things to see that value and invest in it.
Right.
Versus, seeing it as an expense line. It's an investment. It's not an expense. And I think that's definitely a pain point.
So you were nodding your head when I went through the whole spiel about people saying, "Oh, it's your job to lie for the president." Is that some of the stuff that you've heard too? That people kind of reduce the job to these menial tasks or being somebody's foot soldier, that sort of thing.
You know what? Luckily, not personally. And again, credit to Muhlenberg. And I think some of those, and we hear a lot. Everybody thinks they can be a marketer.
Yeah. Here come the magicians with their capes and their top hats and their cheap parlor tricks.
And I think it's probably the most misunderstood job on campus as far as a Marcom job. Can we put this up on social quickly?
Yeah, exactly.
And the answer, no, nothing happens quickly. You've got different platforms. You got different requirements for those platforms. You've got to find an image or design something, and then you need alt text, and you need to do all these things. So I think social media is definitely a misunderstood part of marketing. It's a hugely valuable tool, right? It's where students go to see what life at your institution is like. But I think we as an industry can do a much better job of highlighting the strategic importance of that role.
And just from a talent experience standpoint, and I think it's really important for people to understand other roles. Let's just take this as a really quick example. How long can one social media post take on one platform?
I guess it depends on the post and the person and what else is going on.
Yeah.
But, for certain things, like, let's say a message from the president about something.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
That is not something that can just go up on social media. It needs to go through numbers of approval. And, every institution is different, but one post requires a lot of thought on one platform. Is this the right platform for this content? Who is this content for?
Yeah.
Which platform am I going to post on? And then understanding all the different things about how do I figure out the algorithm?
Yeah.
Of this,
Yeah.
this platform? Should we put money behind this? Should we sponsor this?
Wait, can we take a JPEG of the president's letter and put it on TikTok and put some music behind it?
Well, and I think we all know that can take hours. That can take a half a day to
It
record
could,
and edit a TikTok video.
because that's video production. That's getting the cast. That's casting the part.
Yeah.
You know, is making sure that you have the right kind of light. Is making sure you have the right equipment. Is making sure you're in the right location. Is making sure that after you shoot the video, oh, by the way, the people who you cast, they got to get their lines or whatever. They have to do that right. So that itself could take what, an hour
Yeah.
for a 5-minute thing you're trying to
Right.
do,
And
and then you got to edit the thing.
right. And a social media manager is a content writer. They're somebody that's advocating for ADA compliance.
Yeah.
In their work.
Yeah.
They're a designer. They're a videographer. They're a crisis communications specialist. They wear a lot of hats, and it's a big job, and I think it's a misunderstood one.
So one of the things that you have to do in your role, I've had to do it in my role. A lot of us who are Marcom, we've had to do it, especially in leadership positions. We've had to find ways to bring areas of campus together. You were doing a whole podcast about this. Why is breaking silos so important to you? Why is doing that podcast so important?
Yeah, I think, when Mallory came to me asking if I wanted to host a podcast, I wanted to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do something that would help us sort of what I just talked about, sort of elevate marketing as a strategic partner, and doing that by highlighting partnerships happening every day. We all say we wish we weren't so siloed. We should be working more closely together. Well, if I can give people 15, 20 examples of that every season of the podcast, and those people listening go implement something like that on their campus.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe in 5 years we'll be a conference and saying, yeah, we don't have any silos anymore. We increase collaboration. I think one of the pain points for marketing is just that. I've been in marketing departments that were service organizations. We were taking orders and giving back products. And that's not a great place to be as a marketer. You're really kind of head down in your work. The best marketing departments I've been a part of are first of all the ones with a seat at the cabinet, and that highlights leadership that's really invested in that, and then the ones that it's going to sound harsh, but the ones that can say no and can make strategic decisions. I think Ethan Braden from now Texas A&M talks a lot about that, being the drivers and not being driven. Yeah. And I think the way to do that is to collaborate across campus and show people the value that marketing brings to the institution. And show people it's not an expense, it's an investment. It's a hill I will die on. Marketing is not an expense, it's an investment. And a lot of times I think it's probably the first place that people look to say, this is a really big line item in our budget, and schools clothing and things like that. So the schools that make the tough decision to say we can't cut marketing budget. We're going to invest in marketing. We need our brand out there. We've got to recruit students, and the way to do that is there's many ways to do that, but good marketing and strategically funded marketing is really important. And I think hopefully breaking silos is kind of shining a light on how that can then filter out to the rest of the institution.
Yeah. And it's interesting to me the dimensions of marketing that we do have to continually educate people on, so it's saying to people, I mean, if you think of marketing in terms of the basic 4 Ps, right? And I'm always telling people, well, you have 3 Ps before you get to the fourth one. Fourth one is promotion, and that's what everybody thinks about. They think about brand, they think about messaging, they think about that sort of thing. But then I found, at least in my last role, I was like, well, hold on now. I can't get to that promotion part unless I talk product, price, and place. And so let's talk about that as well. And I find that we do have to. I think there are a lot of folks in Marcom, at least more on the marketing side, who really do have to do more work to educate folks at colleges and universities to say, hey, listen, I really, really do need to understand why does our tuition cost this amount? Sorry, academic affairs, but I really would like to know, why do we have this major and there are three people in this major, and that sort of thing. And those are tough conversations, but I do find that a lot of times we do have to have that education process.
Yeah, and to the four P's point, one of my favorite sayings is a good sauce can't save a bad noodle.
I love that saying. I love it when you say that.
Really, it boils down to the four P's. One of those is off.
Yes.
People will look elsewhere, especially when you're
Yes.
talking about adult or grad students. That are, it's a different experience. When you're going to undergrad, there's more to it than that. But I always liken it to, if let's say you're going to run a 5K and you love Nike shoes, and you're a diehard Nike evangelist, and you want Nike, but if Nike doesn't have the shoe that I want, product at the price that I want it, and can't get it to me in time, so kind of place, then whatever promotion they did is not going to make me
right.
Or if it's more expensive than I can pay, I'm happy to buy Adidas. I need the shoe. I don't need the brand, right? And so I think a lot of institutions can get tied up in their brand and their reputation, and which are all important things. But at the end of the day, those four things have to line up. People are savvy today. I mean, people shop for discounts, and they
absolutely,
the reason that Amazon is what Amazon is, because I can get it in 2 days for a cheaper price. And I may like to go to whatever store I count this at, but if I can get it delivered to my door conveniently when I need it, that's what I'm going to do.
So let's tap into the strengths of people. For instance, the strengths of people who we run into in these conferences, like here at Engage. Tapping into the strengths, and this is as a final question. One of the things I think about immediately for marketers is that what really helps drive a good marketer, and this is what I love so much about the higher ed marketing community, is that natural curiosity about what to do, and then also that penchant to take risks and that sort of thing. If you were to run into someone at Engage, or someone you can think about at Engage or any other conference we've gone to, and you said, okay, this person has got to be really good at what they're doing. I really hope their institution is doing right by them. What are some of those qualities that hit you whenever you talk to your colleagues?
Yeah, I think, certainly strategy is one of them, but I also think the ones that are not only passionate about the work they do, but there's a sense of levity, probably isn't the right word, but a sense of kind of where that work fits in the world. And I forget who it was. It might have been Jenny Petty that I heard say, we're doing marketing. We don't have surgery scheduled at which is great. I mean, even in the most stressful of times, understand that what we're doing is certainly important, but I'm focused on other parts of my team's mental health. How are they doing? Am I supporting them enough? Or am I communicating down from leadership enough? I think, leadership is another one that you can tell a natural leader when you see one or when you talk to one. And so leadership, but also, I think being able to kind of compartmentalize not only, yes, what we're doing is important, but there are other aspects of our job that are important too. That's kind of the thing that sticks out to me when I hear people talk. I was at a session at AMA in November in Chicago, and it was 4 CMOs on a panel, and one of them, Angela Pollock, who's at Temple University, talked about kind of this idea. And I've been able to meet Angela a couple of times, but she strikes me as somebody who is kind of embodies those kind of characteristics. And there are plenty of people like that out there, but I think leadership, and also some kind of based in reality is not the right word, but that ability to kind of
be able to manage expectations and
and manage expectations, and also manage the stress or pressure that maybe the team feels.
Yeah.
And being able to absorb that in a way
Mm-hmm.
is I think a mark of a good leader as well.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, Shane Baglini, he is the Senior Director of Marketing at Muhlenberg College. He's also the host of Breaking Silos and recording live from Engage Summit. Shane, thank you much, man. Appreciate you. I Want to Work There is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our shows help higher ed marketers and admissions professionals find their next big idea and feature a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Jamie Hunt, Mallory Wilsey, Seth Odell, Dave Kibbles, Jenny Lee Fowler, and so many other of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.